Hey guys, I'm Zainab Saify and I will be discussing load balancing and cloud computing with you all today. So, in this quick session, we will be discussing what is load balancing, why is it required, algorithms that are used for load balancing, and then we will look at the advantages that it provides. Okay, so let us move on. The first question over here is what is load balancing? Before going into the formal definition of load balancing, let us just try and understand the concept behind it and what was the need that it was developed. So, to understand it more clearly, let's just take an example. Suppose that you develop an application, say a Photoshop application. You show that application to your friends. Your friends really liked your application and now your friends wants to use it too. They're even ready to pay you for it. When one of your friends uses your application, he finds it really effective and advises or suggests your application to his other friends. Soon there are a lot of people trying to access your application. Basically, your computer is serving as a server for all of those clients who are now generating requests for your application. Okay, now you start making a lot of money, and the situation so far looks really exciting and really tempting. But what happens when more and more customer joins in, more and more clients joins in? There's no more ability left in your server or in your computer to service any more requests. All the requests are being delayed because of that, and customers are getting irritated. If you don't do anything real soon, then you might end up losing your customers to some other application. So, you take a decision to deploy your application on few other computers or servers. Okay, like say if you have one, then you buy two more and you deploy that on two more servers. Now you request now you service the request generated by your customers from three servers. Like some request from the first one, some request from the second one, some request from the third one. Hence, the load is distributed amongst the three of them. This makes your customers happy as now they are getting quick responses like before, and which in turn makes you happy. So, what does load balancer do over here? When you shift from one server to three, there is going to be different loads on each of the servers. So to balance the load equally amongst all of them, you need a load balancer so that none of your server is overly, you know, overly overloaded, or none of your server is underutilized. You got my point? So the companies like Amazon, GoIbibo, Google, they don't just have one server. They have multiple servers. And we, as a client, when we generate a request for such application, then they service our request from one of those servers. That is why we get responses in no time, real quick. So this is the logic behind the load balancers. Now let us move on towards its formal definition. What is load balancing? Cloud load balancing is defined as a method of splitting workloads and computing properties in a cloud computing. It enables enterprises to manage workloads, demands, or application demands by distributing resources amongst numerous computers, networks, or servers. Cloud load balancing includes holding the circulation of the workload traffic and demands that exist all over the internet. You understanding this? It's a really simple definition and it should be clear to you by the example that we took earlier. To go a little deeper into this definition, let us just look at the diagram that they are providing. So what they are trying to say over here is, these are the multiple servers on which our application is deployed. And these are the various users of our application. When any of these users generate a request for any of our servers, Cloud Load Balancer checks that this request should go to which server and in turn transmits the request to a definite server. Understanding? This way, the load is balanced between the four of them. Okay, so let us move on to see why the load balancers are required. Now, first reason that we saw that why load balancers are required is obviously to utilize your resources properly and efficiently. Okay, so that none of your servers are overly overloaded and none of them are underutilized. Okay, this is why you need a load balancer. The second reason why you need a load balancer is that when a client when this is an example without using a load balancer. Okay, now we'll see what happens if you don't use a load balancer. So what happens when client generates a request, it generates a request for a particular IP address. Okay, so that request is transmitted to that IP address. Now, suppose we have three servers over here: 10.2.0.1, 10.2.0.2, 10.2.0.3. So when a client generates a request for any one of them, the request is being transmitted to that server, and that server in turn responds to that client. Okay, so now what is happening over here is, suppose in the best case scenario, if a client generates a request for 10.2.0.2, the request goes over here to the second server. The second server is working perfectly, processes the request and sends the output or the desired result to the client. Client is happy. Now what happens if one of the servers stops working? It is not responding to any of the requests generated by the client. Now suppose this client wants to generate a request for 10.2.0.3. The request has been generated. The request has been sent to the server. But this server is not responding. This particular client will keep on generating requests for the same server every time. And this server will not respond. While two other servers are sitting there idle with the same application on it, but this client is not getting the result. You understanding what is happening over here? So if we have a load balancer with us, what happens is the load balancer recognizes that this server is not responding for a long time. Hence, this client's request is sent to either one of these, and the load is balanced between these two servers. This is the basic idea why load balancers are really important. Now let us see what happens when you employ a load balancer. When we employ a load balancer, all the requests generated by our clients are sent to a virtual server. Say over here in this example, the address of the virtual server is 20.2.0.1. Okay, so all the requests are sent to this virtual server first. This virtual server is connected to a load balancer. Okay, now this load balancer sees that where this request should be transmitted to this physical servers. These are the actual servers. This was a virtual server. This was just acting like a server. The actual servers are these. Okay, so now load balancer uses some algorithm. We will see in this session real quick that what are the algorithms that load balancer employs. But over here, just know that load balancer has its own algorithms which it uses to determine that which request should go to which server. And in turn, if this server stops working, it will come to know that the server is not working and it will send the request to this and this server only. Understanding? So let us move on to see that what are the algorithms that this load balancer is using over here to determine that which request should be sent to which server.